She called the single dad worthless. Minutes later, 40 banks locked down her billion-dollar empire. The bright morning sun reflected off the glass towers of downtown, making the city look unstoppable. People rushed through the sidewalks, chasing meetings, dreams, and deadlines. But for one exhausted single father, this ordinary morning will become the day that changed countless lives forever. Ethan Brooks held his little daughter Sophie's hand as they walked toward one of the largest financial headquarters in the country. His suit was clean, but several years old. His shoes had been polished so many times that the leather had started to crack, and his eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights spent raising his daughter alone after losing his wife. He wasn't looking for sympathy. He wasn't asking for charity. He simply wanted a fair chance. What happened inside that building would trigger a chain of events so unbelievable that within minutes, 40 of the nation's biggest banks would freeze every business account connected to one woman whose pride had become bigger than her humanity. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is never weakness and everyone deserves a second chance, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories that inspire hope. Ethan had spent years rebuilding his life from nothing. After his wife passed away from a sudden illness, he worked every job imaginable, driving delivery vans during the day, repairing computers at night, and tutoring college students online after putting Sophie to bed. Every dollar he earned went toward giving his daughter the stable childhood she deserved. Quietly, patiently, he also built a financial technology platform designed to protect small community banks from fraud. It wasn't glamorous, and almost nobody knew his name, but dozens of regional banks depended on his security systems every single day. Ethan preferred staying behind the scenes because he believed real success didn't need applause. That morning, he had been invited to meet executives at Ashford Global Holdings, a billion-dollar investment empire led by Victoria Sinclair, one of the most celebrated businesswomen in the country. Her company wanted to purchase the rights to Ethan's software, and he hoped the partnership would allow him to expand the technology so even small rural banks could afford world-class protection. He entered the building with quiet confidence, carrying nothing more than a worn leather briefcase filled with years of work. The luxurious boardroom overlooked the entire skyline. Expensive artwork decorated every wall, while executives whispered around a polished marble table. Ethan noticed several people glance at his old suit before quickly looking away. Victoria entered with cameras following behind her after finishing a television interview, celebrating another record-breaking quarter. She looked at Ethan for only a few seconds before her expression changed from curiosity to disappointment. Without bothering to learn who he really was, she assumed he was another struggling inventor desperate for money. She mocked his appearance, questioned how someone who couldn't even afford a new suit could possibly create technology worth billions, and dismissed him as a worthless single dad chasing impossible dreams. Her words echoed through the silent room. Every employee lowered their eyes. Ethan never argued. He simply thanked her for her time, picked up his briefcase, took Sophie's small hand, and calmly walked toward the elevator. Nobody in that room knew what Ashford Global's executives had failed to research. The software protecting 40 independent banking networks across the country belonged entirely to Ethan Brooks. Those banks had trusted his company for years because he refused to compromise security for profit. Every major financial institution connected through his fraud detection system received automatic alerts whenever suspicious ownership changes or unethical acquisition attempts threatened the integrity of their network. Only minutes after Ethan left the building, the acquisition documents Ashford Global had secretly filed triggered dozens of automated compliance reviews. One after another, 40 banks temporarily suspended every partnership, transaction, and investment linked to Victoria's empire until a full ethical investigation could be completed. Billions of dollars instantly became inaccessible. Trading partners paused agreements. Investors demanded answers. News channels interrupted regular programming to report that one of the country's largest financial empires had suddenly been locked out of critical banking operations. Inside Ashford Global headquarters, panic spread faster than anyone had ever witnessed. Phones rang nonstop. Lawyers rushed through hallways carrying stacks of emergency paperwork. Television crews gathered outside the building. Victoria demanded immediate explanations, convinced a cyber attack had begun. The answer shocked everyone. Every compliance report pointed back to one name, Ethan Brooks. Not because he attacked the banks, because the banks trusted him more than anyone else. Years earlier, when several community banks had nearly collapsed after devastating fraud scandals, Ethan had volunteered countless unpaid hours helping them rebuild secure systems. While large corporations demanded enormous consulting fees, Ethan quietly protected small businesses simply because he believed honest people deserved honest banking. Those grateful institutions eventually made his company their highest-level security partner. His integrity had become part of the system itself. News reporters quickly uncovered another remarkable truth. Ethan had donated millions anonymously to scholarships for children who had lost a parent. He funded hospital programs for single mothers. He paid off school lunch debts without ever allowing his name to appear. Every act of kindness had remained hidden because he believed generosity should never become advertising. Meanwhile, Sophie waited quietly beside her father on a park bench across the street, eating the simple sandwiches he had packed that morning. Ethan wasn't celebrating anyone's downfall. He wasn't smiling. He simply watched pigeons wander across the grass while helping his daughter finish her homework before her afternoon classes. Victoria eventually left her headquarters surrounded by reporters. For the first time in her career, she wasn't facing questions about profits or awards. She was being asked why she had publicly humiliated the very man whose integrity had become the foundation of trust for dozens of financial institutions. That realization hurt more than losing money. She had spent years measuring people's value by appearance, wealth, and status, never realizing true influence is earned through compassion and consistency. Several weeks later, after independent investigators completed their review, most banking operations resumed. Ashford Global survived financially, but its reputation never fully recovered. Victoria personally launched new programs promoting ethical leadership, employee respect, and community partnerships. She admitted publicly that arrogance had nearly destroyed everything she built. Ethan never accepted revenge victory. Instead, he expanded his technology so even more small banks could protect families and local businesses from financial crime. His company created hundreds of jobs, many specifically reserved for single parents needing flexible schedules. Sophie watched her father transform pain into purpose, learning that dignity cannot be taken away by insults, only surrendered by bitterness. As father and daughter walked home beneath the warm afternoon sunlight, Ethan looked at Sophie laughing while chasing butterflies through a neighborhood park. In that peaceful moment, he realized the greatest success had never been bank accounts, headlines, or billion-dollar contracts. His greatest achievement was raising a daughter who would grow up believing that every human being deserves respect, regardless of how old their clothes looked or how difficult their journey had been. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support allows these inspiring stories of hope, courage, and second chances to reach more people around the world. Glowing star special request. Comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe respect is worth more than riches. Because in the end, fortunes can disappear overnight. Powerful empires can stumble in a single morning, but a heart filled with compassion leaves behind a legacy that no amount of money can ever buy.